Hello everybody, it's Joel from PCGamesN and I am here with Rich.
Hello.
And we, along with 500,000 of our closest friends, have just watched the Destiny 2 big reveal celebration event.
Yes, indeed.
And we're going to talk about some gameplay stuff now, including classes, the worlds and various things like that. So first up, classes and powers. Now we don't have new classes, which we sort of already knew, but we have 3 new subclasses.
Yeah.
Rich, tell us about the subclasses.
So the new subclasses, subclasses are kind of specializations within a class. They affect your abilities and things of this nature. So the 3 new ones, there's a new warlock called the Dawnblade.
Yep.
There's a new hunter called the Arcstrider, and there's a new titan called the Sentinel.
Yes.
So the Dawnblade is solar elemental, the Arcstrider is obviously arc elemental, and then the Sentinel is void elemental.
Now the question you want to know, or we all want to know, is are they going to replace or be in conjunction with the similar elemental existing subclasses?
Yeah. So
they didn't talk about that, right?
They didn't mention that specifically, but it would be pretty weird, obviously, if they were to coexist alongside the existing elemental subclasses without the other 2 elements also having, new subclasses.
And
so
we saw some of that stuff in action, some of these new subclasses going on. What have we seen in terms of like the powers so far?
Well, it's quite clear we've seen the new supers from each of these subclasses. So the gameplay demo was actually done by a Warlock Dawnblade. So we saw the super in action with that. The Dawnblade, when you super, you'll sort of float over the battlefield and with like sort of weird angel wings. And you'll use a sword to throw fiery projectiles down.
Fiery death.
Fiery death.
Some fiery death. Yeah.
The Sentinel, the Void Sentinel, the Titan, that looked really interesting. When you super, you'll get a sort of Captain America style round shield, which you can bash people with, and you can also throw it again.
Very in vogue now, the Captain America shield. So
yeah,
we've gone for that.
Clearly, some Marvel fans at Bungie. And then the Arcstrider will sort of summon an electric pole or staff, and then you'll bash enemies with it. The Arcstrider looked really agile, actually, lots of jumping around and backflipping about.
And then the other thing that we think there's an extra power in there in addition to the 2 and the super in the previous game. Yeah,
this wasn't like confirmed, but it was.
But based on what we saw of the HUD, right? Yeah.
You can see it in the HUD. There's 3 power icons underneath the super bar, so it looks like you're getting a new sort of ability. As well as the grenade and the melee, assuming that they're returning. And we saw, because the Warlock Dawnblade was in the demo, we saw the Warlock pop this ability, I think, and it looks like a little bubble, and it confers a buff. So the effects of that buff will presumably depend on the perks that you choose in your subclass loadout. So it looks like the new Warlock ability will be to confer an AoE buff around the area, but we don't know much more than that.
So worlds now. Now we have 4.
Yeah. As with the launch of Destiny 1, we have 4 planets.
And we have Earth.
Yeah.
But the other 3 are brand new.
The other 3 are brand new, and the location on Earth is brand new as well. So the other 3 are Io, Titan, and Nessus. Right. And Io and Titan are moons of Jupiter and Saturn, respectively.
Yep.
So that means that when we go to Io, we'll be further out in the solar system than we ever have before in the series.
Yep.
So the new zone on Earth, Bungie say it's going to be the biggest place they've built by a factor of 2, and it's the European Dead Zone, which we have seen in Crucible, briefly visited in Crucible maps.
You can do your own Brexit jokes here, by the way. But yeah, European Dead Zone, massive.
Yeah, it'll be huge, and that's the first area that we go to after the Cabal attack the tower. It looks like it's going to be a refugee camp. Quite lush and green, very different to the Cosmodrome, which was the Earth area in number 1.
Is that the bit I saw them playing football in?
Yeah,
there was definitely some people playing football in Destiny 2, which is a bit mad.
And it looks like that's the European Dead Zone. So then the next one is Nessus, which is described as being a small planetoid, which has been almost entirely taken over by the Vex.
Yeah, so it's like a machine world now, essentially.
Yeah.
That's the kind of idea.
Converted by the Vex into this cosmic computer, and it's got its own little natural vegetation, like it's all very lush red leaves.
Yeah.
And there's Cade 6, the Hunter Vanguard. He looks like he's been trapped there for some reason, so you have to go and rescue him.
And then is Nessus the one that's a big ball of gas with no land on it?
No, that's
Titan.
That's Titan. Yeah.
Sorry, getting very confused. There's a lot of information going on. So that's essentially sort of floating structures in a big ball of gas, essentially.
It's a methane ocean.
Yeah.
So that's one of Saturn's moons, and you'll go there, and there's no landmass. It's just ruins of humanity's golden age structures, sort of
outcrops in the middle of this big,
kind of like oil rigs sticking out.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Io.
And Io, as you say, is the furthest. It's the last place in the solar system apparently that the Traveller's Light touched, and so as such, it's a very sort of sacred place to the Guardians, particularly the Warlocks. Which is why Ikora Rey, the Warlock Vanguard, flees there. Apparently she goes there after the tower is lost in a big fit of pique. So again, you'll go there to speak with her. Looked very sort of spooky, lots of dark moonlit areas, not moonlit, but presumably esoterically lit in some occult fashion. So yeah, that's really exciting. It's also good to know where the Traveller's Light the limits of the Traveller's Light actually rests. And given that's in orbit around Jupiter as well, perhaps there'll be some connection to the Nine. We might see more of them in this game.
And then finally, we've got weapons. Now, I'm going to be honest, I was writing a story while the weapons bit was going on, so I'm pretty ignorant about the weapons. I saw a minigun, but what else is going on with the weapons?
So this is quite a change, quite a drastic change. It looks like you'll have, replacing primary and secondary weapons, you'll have kinetic weapons and elemental weapons. And it looks like in terms of the kinds of guns that go into these slots, they're quite similar. That it's not completely clear from the trailers and things, but it looks like you'll get things like auto rifles, pulse rifles, and things of this nature in both of those slots. Right. It's just that the difference will be one will have an element, and the other will just be sort of regular old kinetic damage. And that's a big deal because in the first game, elemental damage was really, really strong because it shredded the shields of enemies with the corresponding element. So it was a really, really useful way to do some damage in PvE. And in fact, primary weapons with elemental damage in the first game were so strong that Bungie actually took them out of the Taken King. And that was a kind of a divisive change. So it looks like this sort of similar sorts of weapons across two different slots with elemental and kinetic damage is, as Bungie, in the trailer, they said it was like a way for us to give players more choice about how to do their damage and how to go about their business. We're not quite sure how that'll be balanced yet. Maybe you'll get limited ammunition for elemental weapons, or maybe they'll be harder to acquire, or yeah, it's not completely clear, but that's a big change. And then the other big change is that heavy weapons have now been replaced by power weapons. So that's your third slot. And we did see rocket launchers are coming back for sure. We also saw 2 new weapon types added to the power weapon slot. One was a minigun, as you noticed.
Saw a lot of minigun damage going on.
Yeah, it's quite exciting.
Yeah, it looked good.
And then the next new one is a grenade launcher. And we saw a grenade launcher with sort of like a rotary chamber firing out lots of grenades quite quickly. So that's what's going on with weapons.
So that's all we know so far pretty much about weapons and classes and various gameplay changes to Destiny 2. There's a hell of a lot more on PCGamesN.com, your favourite website and mine, and we will have other video content on the channel as well. So like, subscribe, hit the bell, and we will catch you very, very soon.